Hello, N4HNH here. So this video is in response to a question received on my channel, and I thank you for the question. I don't know the gentleman's name, or perhaps it was even a lady because they didn't put their name in there. But anyway, this is a response to that question regarding the FT-891 and my transmit audio settings. Doesn't it look good sitting up there above my 5000? It's a great little radio used for a backup earlier in the year. If you've watched any of my previous videos, you saw that I shot some with this rig. I normally use this radio for summits on the air, SOTA. So I carry it in a backpack. Yes, it's not the most popular radio to carry in the backpack, but because of its weight. But it's not that heavy, and I have hiked for 2.5 years with this radio. Actually, no, longer than that. January will be 3 years. I think that it's not a terrible trade because if I need it, I have 100 watts available to me. I generally run it at 45 watts, and the reason is this radio is biased for 100 watts, so it's not one of those where even though you can turn it down to 5 watts, actually much below 45 watts, it doesn't save your battery anymore. Again, has to do with how the final transistors are biased so that it can produce 100 watts. Okay, but that's not what the subject of the video is about. I just want to give you a little background on why I have this radio. I actually have a second one of these that is my mobile radio in my truck. What I want to get into here is transmit audio. So first of all, if you watched my videos earlier in the year, I think it would have been May, June, July time frame, where I was using this radio as my base station while the 5000 was at Yaesu getting a repair. To be fair to Yaesu, the repair was not caused by the radio itself. It was caused by some extreme RF getting into the shack and coming in on the computer-aided transceiver cable, the CAT cable, and it fried the CAT port. So while it was at Yaesu getting a new CAT port, I used this FT-891 as a base station, and if you go back and watch some of those videos, you'll see I shot a video on how easy it is to disconnect this hand mic and plug it into an MD-100 desk mic from Yaesu. I don't have the MD-100 on the desk right now, or I would show it to you, but it's actually packed away in its factory box and ready if I need it again. So let me refocus this. It got out of focus since I showed you that microphone. So what I'm about to show you, though, what I want you to know is I use the same transmit EQ settings, whether it be the hand mic or the desk mic, and it seems to work great both ways. And I had the same gentleman who helped me set the audio on my FTDX 5000 help me as well with getting the audio adjusted on this FT-891. And I do receive compliments regarding my transmit audio. So with that as a backdrop, let me get into it. So I'm going to long press the F key here, which gets you into the big menu. And look at there, HFSSB power, 45 watts. And, while that's on the screen, let me point something out to you. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. That may help out. Let me get the camera aimed so you can see that really well. All right, looks like we got a little bit of a glare from the light. Apologize here. I'm just going to try to get that so you can get the best view of the menu. Okay, HFSSB power. Like I said, I run that at 45 watts. HFAM, I know this isn't transmit audio, but while it's here, I wanted to cover that. You can go up to 40 watts. I generally keep it at about 25. This one here was confusing to me. HF power. Well, wait a minute. What is that? I mean, there's HFSSB. There's HFAM. It would be better if that one read HFCW power. So that's the CW. And I actually do have that set a little high. I generally run it around 15. And the reason I do that is because a lot of times I'm out with a friend and he's operating with a KX3 and he's at 15 watts and we're trying to stay, keep from interfering with one another. But of course that can go all the way up to 100. So those are your power, and then you have another group of those that are specific to the 6 meter band. I know that says 50 M, 50 megahertz. There's SSB power, SSB AM, and then this one is the again CW. It just doesn't say CW. Oversight by Yaesu, perhaps. Okay, and then here's SSB mic gain. This is something you're going to want to know. These are my mic gain settings that I've found work pretty well. So sideband mic gain 30, AM mic gain 30, FM mic gain 50. I don't do data, so I don't worry about that one. So those are those have to do with the power, and then of course the mic gain. So the mic gain is going to play into, of course, your transmit audio. And let's go back over here now. These are the EQs, and if you're looking up at the very, very top of the screen, you'll see which menu it is. So the menu settings for EQ start at 15-04. And so my EQ1 frequency is set to 200 hertz. And the EQ1 level is at 10. In fact, let me show you what that 10 is. Maximum. And let me just mention, it's opposite with something like a hi-ho microphone. Hi-ho microphones have a lot of bass in them, a lot of bass response. I actually go negative at 200 hertz with a hi-ho microphone, just so you know. Even the bandwidth I do different with a hi-ho microphone. It's generally 1 or 2, never more than 2. And if you go back and look at I've already shot a video of my transmit audio settings for the Yaesu FT-891 MP that's sitting here, and it's drastically different than the settings you see here for the when using a Yaesu microphone, because the settings I have for the 5000 are for a hi-ho PR781. So EQ1 bandwidth 8. EQ2 frequency 1300, EQ2 level 5, and that's a plus 5 dB, by the way. These levels are in dB. And then EQ2 bandwidth 8. That's 8 octaves, in case you're curious what that means. And then EQ3 frequency 2400. And by the way, bandwidth. If you ever hear the word, for those of you who may be new to the hobby, if you ever hear someone refer to a factor called Q. Q is a measure of the width of a filter. Okay, so bandwidth and Q, you can kind of consider those very similar terms. Okay, synonymous. So all right, now EQ3 2400 hertz. And let me just mention again, if you're new to the hobby or new to understanding audio in general, this 200 hertz frequency, that's down at the low end of the human voice. Our voices are generally between 300 and 3000 hertz. So I'm putting just a little bit of depth in the audio with that because the hand mic and even the desk mic tend to be a little bit thin. Now also EQ2 1300 hertz, that's the mid-range. Now, and then 2400 hertz back to EQ3 frequency, that's going to give you the highs on your voice. And if you go a lot higher than 2400 hertz, it puts a lot of that really it's called a sibilance sound, but really sizzly highs you don't really need. You need some highs that help project your voice in noisy band conditions. Now here's EQ3's level is at 7. I didn't go all the way to 10. I left it at 7. That seemed to be enough at 2400 hertz to make me very intelligible. And then EQ3 bandwidth 8. Now you get to the PEQs. So let me explain what that is. Yaesu radios allow you to set the EQ different for when you're running your speech processor. So P stands for processor. So this this range of EQs here are only used when you have enabled your speech processor. And I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I generally run my speech processor, especially when I'm out there doing soda at 45 watts. I need all the help I can get. So it is slightly different. Look, I'm at PEQ1 is at 300 hertz, boosting by 10 with a bandwidth of 8. PEQ2, 1300 hertz, boosting by 5, bandwidth of 8. That's the same, I believe, as I had before. And PEQ3, look at this, 2300 hertz. This is just the settings that I found with my friend listening and me tweaking. Quite a tedious process. 2300 hertz for PEQ3, level 7. Again, not 10, but 7. Just didn't want to get too crazy with that, or you'll sound very, very pinchy. And then PEQ3, bandwidth 8. And see, there begins the where we were a while ago, the power output settings. And I generally keep it right there because if you long press to exit this, next time you come back in, it'll come back where you left off. Okay, so I'm going to get out of that. I didn't make any changes, so you know it's not going to hurt anything. I just pressed the F though, and if you had made changes, the F saves the changes and then exits. Now, one other thing regarding transmit EQ is, like I mentioned, the processor. So I'm not going to long press the F. I'm going to tap it. And that gets you into this function menu. And there's MEQ. If you don't have MEQ enabled, then all those EQ settings you just did make no effect. That's microphone EQ. So you've got to enable that. Now you take your multi-knob here and you cycle through until you get to MEQ, and it may be off. You tap it to turn it on. Let's see. We go into. I'm in CW mode right now. Let me because it won't let me change that. Let me jump out of CW a second. You long press this to get out, and I'm gonna go on to a. Let's see. There we go. To a sideband frequency. And let me get back into that function menu. There we go. So mic EQ, make sure that it's not like that. You want it darkened to engage the microphone EQ. Okay, and I'm going to tap again, and this is CW related. Let me get back over here to this one here. You see it's on PRC. That stands for processor. So again, if you want to use the processor, move your arrow with your multi-knob over to PRC and then press in on the multi-knob, and I run the processor as you see there, 20. So referring back to the long menu, I had mic gain at 30, processor at 20. If you go much more than that, you're going to sound bad actually. You can have too much of a good thing. Okay, so processor is engaged at a setting of 20, and then mic EQ, make sure that you move over to that, and see it toggles back and forth by pressing in the multi-knob here. So you want mic EQ engaged, and trust me, you can do all the change. Let me long press to get out of there. Now I'm going to long press to get into the big menu. You can make all these changes in these EQs and literally not make any difference at all to somebody listening to you if you forget to enable the mic EQ, MEQ, in the function menu. So there you have it. Now I will want to mention one other thing. On the microphone itself, on the back, there is a switch. You want to put that switch in position 2, like you see mine. Push it to the right. Position 1 emphasizes more lows. Position 2 emphasizes more highs. I find that it works better in position 2 for intelligibility over the air, and the EQ is making up for the lows that I might lose with that switch, just so you know. And you have a similar switch on the bottom of the MD-100 microphone. So, you know, look at it too. And honestly, these are just starting points. You might get a friend to get on the air and decide whether you sound better. You know, maybe you do sound better with the switch in 1, but I have universally found that for me 2 always sounds better with these EQ settings in combination with that mic set to 2. And again, on your MD-100 desk mic, you can set the settings like you see I have here, and then try the various options you have. It's got I'll just say they're analog. They're non-active filters that are switch selectable on the bottom, similar to this switch here. And so you can do high emphasis, low emphasis, things like that. When in doubt, try high emphasis, because on ham radio the highs give you the intelligibility. Lows may sound good, and if you know, like a radio DJ or something, but in noisy band conditions and you're trying to break through a pileup, for example, to work a rare DX station, the highs are going to be more helpful than the lows will. Okay, so I hope you found the video helpful and informative. Out of focus there, with discussing the transmit audio EQ settings for the Yaesu FT-891. And again, thanks to my Patreons. If you want to help out, keep the channel going, www.patreon.com/N4HNH, and you can contribute through Patreon to help me keep these videos coming. 73 from N4HNH.